Okay, I'm gonna get the breakdown of everything else that happened with my ex, the hussy. So this is the second part. If you haven't watched the first one, go back and watch it. So her and my mom had come up to see me at the same time. My ex was gonna put money in my books because she knew the names. My mom's like, okay, I'll leave money under your floor mat. Give me your keys. She was like, reluctant, but she gave my mom the keys. My mom found a $5,000 set of earrings she stole from my mom's store and a syringe in the glove box. So, at this point, she came to see me, everything. That's where we're at. So my mom had her whole family come to my mom's store and puts her out to tells her family, she's on drugs. Y'all need to figure something out. She can't work here no more. The guy who she was cheating on me with moved in an apartment with her. He ended up in jail. She said some stuff that he did or something. She got a restraining order on him. So I figure he's out of the picture, but I'm like, well, if you want to stay with me, you got to get my name tattooed on your back. She's like, I've already got your initials on my leg. She did that before I went to prison. I guess a sign she stayed with me. Before prison, I'm like, I don't think we should do this. I'm going to prison. She's like, no, I want to be with you. So I went with it. Now, she got my name huge on her back. Huge infinity symbol on it. Now, and then she came in the visiting room and asked me if I was going to get her name tattooed on me. I said, let's see if I said 2 months ago, you're sticking needles in your arm, stealing stuff from my mom with a guy in your apartment. Let's try going a year without any of that. Then I'll think about getting a tattoo, which didn't make her too happy. But anyway, she ended up going to rehab, tried to make this work. She'd come visit, over the next 5 or 6 months. And there was one time, I looked at her arms for track marks. One time, I licked my finger and I wiped it. She had makeup on her arm, trying to cover it up. There's a number of stories my mom could tell you, but I ain't going to do that. I'd tell you probably 1,000 stories about this awful person. And also what made me feel so bad was my mom had kept telling me how awful she was acting and everything else. And, and also the fact my mom could have put her in jail and got the insurance money back for the $100,000 she stole from my mom's business over that 5-month period. And I asked mom not to, so I didn't want to go to jail, try and make this thing work. But found out that all this stuff that she said, like, my mom said that basically, like, she threatened to treat me bad if mom didn't let her just get her way at the store. And then she'd come visit me, and she'd be like, I don't know why your mom would say it. I don't know. And, sounds so sweet. And I'm like, well, I don't know who to believe. At that point, I didn't know she was doing drugs. I didn't know none of that. You know what I mean? So I felt so bad because I was like, man, I took this awful hussy's word over my own mother. And I was disgusted with myself. Disgusted with myself over that. And I still feel really bad about that, to be honest with you. It's awful. Everybody at the store, still people work at the store that can tell you they all hated this girl. How awful she was and how she acted to everybody. Every day at the store, she'd claim she had to go run errands, like pick up trash bags, this or that, and stay gone for a couple hours at the time. What she was doing was she was stealing stuff she thought wouldn't get missed. Little this, little that, taking it to pawn shops and selling it. Mom went around the pawn shop seeing what she stole, trying to recover, paying out of her own pocket to get back the stuff that was stolen. And she's friends with a lot of the pawn shop owners, so she did get a lot of stuff back, but she had to pay what they had given the hussy back for. So anyway, and she's selling it for nothing. Okay, jewelry markup's 300%. If it's worth $500, it gets sold for $1,500. But even crazier, a pawn shop's going to offer you a third of that. So if it sells for $500, or if it sells, let's say it sells for $600. Okay, if it sells for $600, it's worth $200. Now a pawn shop is going to give you a third of scrap value. Well, scrap value is $200. They're going to give you about $65, $70. So they're giving you a ninth of the value of what it would actually retail for. And that's what she's doing. She's selling on, but she's stealing it, so who cares? And she worked herself up to where she got brave enough to where she stole a set of $5,000 earrings. A lot of bad stuff. So she keeps visiting me over about the next 5 or 6 months. I'm trying to make this thing work. I've got a bunch of unrealistic expectations. And I expect her to email me like 20 times a day on the prison email system. And, all this other crazy expectations on my part. And I'd never said a mean word to her ever before that day. And then when I realized all that stuff about my mom saying about how she'd been awful mean and talking nasty was true, I was mean. I was mean. I was mean back. I was nasty back. I was mad. I was mad, and all the stuff that I'd never said, and I'd never said one mean thing. I never raised my voice ever, ever. That's not me. But it got me to that point. For about that last 5 or 6 months, I did. I was mean back. I was really mean, and so what it ultimately came down to was, see, there's this guy who used to drive me around whenever I was out on bond because I didn't have an ID. They take your license from you when you get a drug charge. And then you're in drug court, a program that relies on you going to 3 drug tests a week that you have to do at the probation office, then 3 drug groups a week, which are all the way on the opposite side of town, but they take your license, expecting you to get. So it's impossible for people if you don't have help. I got lucky because I had help. Now, my mom hired this guy who gets a check from the government. Could have called him the astronaut. That's about the only thing he claimed he hadn't done. He was a know-it-all, knew everything about everything. Now, he had driven her up. My mom had paid him to drive her up because she doesn't have a car anymore. She totaled that when she was high as could be. So, not only, and by this point too, by the way, she went around an apartment, car, everything, a job. She doesn't have a job. That didn't happen anymore. Like I said, my mom got her whole family into her store to have talked about that. The job was gone. So with the job's gone, the apartment's gone. So she's living back with her mom, and if I remember right, I think it was her mom's boyfriend who her mom had moved in with. So she's living with her mom's boyfriend, and I think she was sharing a room with a teenage girl, if I remember right. But anyway, so she went from having her own apartment, sharing a room with a high schooler, not having a car, not having anything. Just broke as could be, joke as could be. And she came up this visiting room. Like I said, I'm going to wrap this up with this because, I don't want to speak on it anymore. Now, that whole month after I found out, I was sick to my stomach, it killed me. But then the hurt turned to anger, realizing all the awful stuff that people tell me she'd been acting and doing was true. Now, okay, so she comes to see me. That guy drove her, the guy I told you who my mom gave a few bucks to. And she starts mentioning again about me getting her name tattooed on me. And, there were a few times in the visits before that I had caught her with track marks on her arms, and she'd put makeup on. I licked my finger, wiped it off. I don't think I said that already, but yeah. Because I looked like, did that? There was makeup on it. Not this particular time, but times before. So we'd had a whole lot of issues. That had been like just not too long before that. So anyway, she starts asking about getting her name tattooed on me, and we get in an argument about something. She thinks she knows everything about something, everything, and what I basically said, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it, and there's no nice way to say it. Basically what I said was, she said something. I said, well, if you could keep a out of you and a needle out of your arm, we wouldn't be having these problems. And, it hit hard, left open mouth. Now, visit went, calmed down though, ended up cool the rest of the time, and that was one of the meanest things I'd ever said. Rightfully so, though. I mean, it's the truth. She couldn't keep it out of her, and she couldn't keep a needle out of her arm. Scheming. But anyway, so we leave on a good note, and me being the warrior I am, and I am a warrior. It's a long drive. There are people that have had their family members die on the way to and from the drive to and from back to the prison. Like, one guy's whole family was on the way to see him. They died in a car wreck, and they gave him the news. It was terrible. So I always wanted to make sure she got home safe. So I made sure that I had an email that I woke up to that I got that from. So I didn't get the email. So I called literally 50, 60, 70 times, over and over and over again. Couldn't get an answer. Well, I kept calling every 10, 15 minutes. I called and I got, how you call, like I said, that busy signal where it rings and you get the boop at the end. I got that. And I heard somebody pick up. Too much of a coward to even say hello or to even answer. There is a recording that lets you know, hey, it's a federal prison calling. Press so and so to accept. Press so and so to block this number. And once it's blocked, can't be unblocked. She blocked my phone. We'd left on a good note that night, just blocked my phone. On the email later, I got 3 sentences. For about 5 years of a relationship, I got a 3-sentence email saying something about what worked out, wish me the best. It was like 3 sentences brief, and then that was it. Yeah. And, forgot to mention, I had gotten some money, some inheritance from when my grandma died. She died way before this, but I'd been left some money. Now, she kept going back and shooting up drugs. Well, I said, well, maybe you go to the methadone clinic. And I was emailing with her mom, to try to help get this together. Forgot about this part. It's important now, because this was a few $1,000s of my money that I sent from the prison. Because see, the prison has a you could send a MoneyGram to people up to $100 at a time. The methadone clinic costs I think it's I don't know how much it was, like $15 to $17, something like that, a day. So I suggest that, and her mom's like, I don't have the money. I'm like, I'll pay for it. I said I wasn't going to send the hussy the money, but I'd send the hussy's mom the money. That way I knew it was going to the clinic, and her mom was making sure it went to the clinic and taking her to the clinic. I sent like $2,500, $3,000, $100 at a time for her to go to this clinic. Oh man, for her to go, I paid all that money because I was trying to help. But anyway, whenever I got blocked on the phone, I threw a front kick. The ball of my foot hit the wall so hard, the wall shook. My leg went numb. Didn't hurt myself, but it rumbled the wall. I kicked it hard, and everybody just looked because it shook everything. And I was pissed. Now, what I'd found out later, that guy who drove her up and drove her back, the whole ride home, he was in her ear, and he had basically said, just talked it, basically enticed it, basically like threw gas on the fire to try to get us to break up because he knew she was no good. And the guy who drove was part of like this like group of people that like try to impress my mom, you know what I mean? Be like and then, in the conversation after we'd had some issue but anyway, ended up working out as a favor. I was mad at the time, but it worked out as a favor. It worked out as a huge favor to me. So, my mom had actually spoke to the hussy and said, now, please just don't be going on Facebook, saying you're with somebody or saying you're single or anything like that, prancing around for a little bit. Be classy, give it a little time. The very same day, put single, was online, cracking jokes with people. My mom was telling me this over the phone. She said that one of the things that the people said were, bet you feel real dumb about that tattoo you got 3 months ago. And she's like, yeah, we broke up. Haha, he was just too controlling. And come to find out later on, there's a woman who taught us when we were little, and she's telling that woman, he forced me to get a tattoo, and he did this, this, and this. And the teacher even told her, well, how'd he do that? He's locked up in prison. How can he make you do anything? Yeah. So my final blowout was an anonymous letter. Well, not an anonymous letter. It was a letter. Because, see, I had a Facebook, but you're not allowed to put stuff on Facebook. So I wrote a letter, and I pretty much had told my mom over the phone, post this to Facebook. Now, I never mentioned the hussy's name once. Now, if I'd mentioned her name, they could have complained and got it taken down. But I let this whole thing, talked about how I love somebody who didn't know how to love me back, how she, even after she moved a guy into her apartment, even after she wrecked a car that mom co-signed for, even after she stole $100,000 from my mom's business, I still tried to make it work. And it was just like real, just like genuine. And I apologized to people that I'd shut out of my life, like I'd quit talking to her over email and stuff because they'd said something bad about her. Come to find out, they were all telling the truth. And at the end of it, I said, haha, at least I didn't get her name tattooed on my back. I said, I don't have anything of her tattooed on me. I said, she's got my initials on my thigh and my name on her back. And I put that public for everybody. Everybody's rolling, laughing about it. And her mom tried calling people, tried calling Facebook, telling them it's cyberbullying. And I mean, you know, bullying was what she did to my family and everybody who surrounded her for all that time. Bullying was what she put me through. Me putting a thing on Facebook, everybody knew it was her, but I didn't mention her by name, so what nothing they do about it. So you know, this just something. This just something. I'm trying to leave it off at this. You know, this the last. And when we split that time, now when I found out she cheated, yeah, I cried like a little baby when I found that out. Whenever we split this time, I didn't cry a tear. You know, I was mad. I was stomach hurt, like I was sick for a little bit, but man, it wasn't bad. I'd already went through the morning. I think I knew that the relationship was dead when I found out she'd stole all that money. Whenever I found out she was that guy in with, whenever I found out she cheated and all that, I think that's when I went through the mourning of all that, you know, accepted it was dead. So anyway, you know, I just want to go ahead and get this done so it can be done with, you know. She's got my name tattooed on her back. I know she probably still got it too, because she's gonna be putting all that dope in her arm, so you know can't afford to get a cover up. Yeah. Oh, thank God I was in prison. Thank God I was in prison, because if they hadn't sentenced me to prison, whenever I went in prison, I was with her. Who knows what the world I'd be tied up in right now? Because of prison, I'm with the girl I had a crush on in high school. The girl I'm with now, my fiance Casey, who's the most beautiful, wonderful, awesome person on the planet. In high school, she wanted nothing to do with me. I was a bad guy. I was a drug dealer. She was a straight A good girl. You know, my wonderful fiance today, she don't do drugs. She don't smoke. She hates it, hates drinking, hates all that. Her habit, she shops. She shops. You know, that's her habit. But anyway, yes, I just wanted to wrap this up about this because you know, I don't want to do any more talking about this awful person because she doesn't deserve the attention, the thrill of it, anything else, you know. But that was a segment that I did need to address, you know. But there's really not a whole lot, you know. Wasn't a whole lot of, you know, substance to her anyway, a whole lot that, you know, anything about us being together any during that time could have added to the conversation. It was kind of a just empty mess. So I'm addressing it because it was part of my life, and I'm talking about all the stuff that happened. I'm gonna put it out there, but I'm not gonna let it go past right here. This is gonna be the end of it. It's gonna be where I get done talking about this. So that's it. That's the end of me and the hussy that was my ex that I'm no longer with. Thank God in heaven. And I'm gonna leave it at that.